I was born in Good Samaritan Hospital in Lexington, Kentucky. My dad worked for the Ashland Oil Company, and we commuted for that 1 year in Cynthiana, Kentucky. And then we moved to world headquarters in Ashland, Kentucky when I was a baby. And when I was 5, he was promoted as head of marketing for the Frontier Oil Company that Ashland owned in Buffalo, New York. So Dad packed up the family and we moved to Orchard Park, New York, right around the corner from the Buffalo Bills football stadium. And then regrettably on September the 4th, 1962, my dad and 12 other men were tragically killed in a Ashland Oil Company plane crash. And this is 1962, right? So my mom's 32 years old, my dad was 37 years old. This is a different era, right? My mom had never written a check, world's greatest mother, world's greatest lady, and all of a sudden, we're kind of on our own. I'll never forget the morning that my mother woke us up. My brother was 9, I was 11, and we went downstairs. And you're just shocked, right? You're crying and all that. And Hal Hickson was down there. Hal Hickson was our neighbor in Orchard Park, New York. And Hal had a big job at the American Airlines. And he put his hand on my shoulder and he said, and now you're the man of the house. You're 11. Yeah, so I think my mother would say that, not that I had, no pun intended, a chip on my shoulder, but it's like, not this little passive little kid anymore, like, let's go, let's do something. It changes you. Yeah, tough deal. My reflections of my dad were, hunting, fishing, Southern gentleman, dearly loved my mother. My stepfather was driven, never believed in any vacation, 365 days a year. You got to get it done now, you got to get it done now. No baloney, right? So he definitely had an influence on me in terms of doing what you say you're going to do and get it done now. I moved back to Frankfurt at 11, went to college at 18. In those 7 years, after you get over the year of grief of losing your dad, right? Those high schools, they were just absolutely fantastic. Then I went away to college, and then I got a job. But I have great memories of high school and Frankfurt and all that growing up, great memories of Kentucky basketball. My son lives there now, as you know, and try to get back as much as I can. I listened to a Dan Cathy podcast yesterday, the family that owns Chick-fil-A. And he said, my wife and I are about ready to celebrate our 50th wedding anniversary. Well, our 50th wedding anniversary was June 16th. Only 6% of the people that are married in the United States get to 50 years of marriage. Because, there's always ups and downs and things. So, I just think that it's all about the family. It's all about Christ. It's all about having the appropriate values, and if you can instill that among others, have a lot of fun in business, because we spend so much time in business compared to what we do everything else in our life. It's got to be that way. We married at 22, so in those early years we're together, right? I got a job my junior year at Washington & Lee to be part of the management training program at the Wachovia Bank and Trust Company. There were 12 trainees, 2 undergraduates, and the rest of the guys and gals went to business school. The other MBAs never lasted more than several years and went on to something else. The other guy that trained with me ended up being there his entire career and was president of the bank. That was all beginning on July the 9th, 1973, when that guy and I walked into the bank together. Had a wonderful time at the Wachovia Bank. Really learned a lot about politics, right? So many people spend so much time on that, and you can define that as whatever you want. That meaning, I want to look good to my boss, or I want to make you look bad so I look good. I didn't care about any of that. Just leave me alone. What do you want? Loans? You want deposits? I got that. I'm leaving on Monday. I'll be back on Friday, right? Let's go get that done. And I've always just felt like, just do your job, right? Never asked for a raise, never did any of that silliness. You know, you got to make a decision in life, right? You going to be an owner, or are you going to be an employee? If you really want to own something and create capital for your family and do something special with a team, it's not 8 hours a day. And your family needs to know that. And it's going to be a few weekends, and maybe you're going to miss a few vacations. It's just hard work. It starts early and it goes late, and it's like owner, employee. But it's like, if that's what you want, if you just want a paycheck, then you should do that. So I looked at 28 of buying an equipment rental company. And Peggy and I didn't have any money. I mean, first job was $750 a month pre-tax. My dad left me $10,000, all of which we put down on a house. So our mortgage payment was $264 a month, and we made $750 pre-tax. Now, I'll never forget the first time I borrowed money, right? Peggy wanted a sewing machine, $70 Singer sewing machine. Only had $10. Put $10 down, the rest on layaway, right? You know what you find, right? It's like, capital is freedom. There's no doubt about it. But would Peggy and I tell you that we're infinitely more happy today than when we were 22? No. I mean, your world is a lot smaller, because that's the world you have to live in when you don't have capital. But it's like, she'd also tell you, and I mean, I think about this too. Like, she told me yesterday, I can live in a mobile home, right? And it's really not about us. For us, it's whatever we have created is his. And there's nothing more fun than giving money away. And there's nothing more fun for us to be in a position to have our children have the ability to do that. And that's what we've set up, so they can have as much fun as Peggy and I have had. Are the odds ever against you? Yeah, the odds of any business succeeding is not that good, right? But Peggy and I would sit down and, like, you know, get out the yellow legal pad. What are the positives? What are the negatives? You've been at Wachovia 10 years, Chip. It's a great job. And now you want to go see if you can buy the bank in our hometown. And, you know, then we'd look at each other and I'd say, I can't stand it if we don't try. We got to give it a shot. We bought our first bank we bought was the Harlan National Bank in Harlan, Kentucky. And then we bought a bank in Pineville. And then we bought other bank in Irvine. And then we bought a bank in Somerset. But it's important to get the first one right, because the other CEOs are going to talk to that first CEO. Banks are really not bought, they're sold. Only when the CEO and the board wants to take it to the barn. Usually coming in and making a, which I made a mistake doing, making a hostile bid for a bank that's not for sale. It's just not going to happen. But that was the start of that company. The start of Security First Network Bank was an equal rocket ship. I mean, we wrote all the code and put the first bank on the internet. Took the company public. The investment bank that took us public was a company called Freeman Billings and Ramsey in Washington, D.C. That was their first IPO ever. So we went out on the road and we priced the stock at 8, and then we repriced it at 12, and the stock opened at 40 and ended up running to 100. And this company was losing a lot of money. But we it was perceived that we were going to sell software to every bank because they didn't have internet banking software and charge $1 per customer per month. And those were fun days. It's not so much ambition with an entrepreneur. It's like, we got to go do this, right? We're going to do this. No one's going to get in our way. We are going to be successful. And the thought of failure just isn't there for, I think, most entrepreneurs. I think the word pride we need to talk about a little bit, right? So there's a guy named C.S. Lewis that wrote a book called Mere Christianity, and I think it's chapter 7 on pride. And I strongly recommend that you guys take a look at that, right? And so I would use another word, just really excited about each and everything that we've done. It's not about capital. It's not about making it. It's not about legacy. We don't ever talk about things like that. It's just like, what is the next mission in front, right? Like sports, right? We're just going to play to win, right? We come up with this idea, this SBA bank. We know how we can grow that, right? So this place is 15 years old. We started with $8 million worth of capital. Now it's an $11 billion bank. Kelly King just stepped down a couple years ago as the CEO of Truist. He was the CEO for many years at Branch Bank and Trust Company. Truist is a $600 billion bank. And he heard that we knew something about technology here and wanted to come by. So he did. And we had a visit. And then I took him to the fitness center down there. There were 20 people in there working out. He said, you let them do that. I trust them, and I love them. And that doesn't bother me to use those words at all because it's in my heart. I actually do, right? This also gets back to him, right? And if you do trust somebody and you love them and all your interests are properly aligned and you've got a little money in it, and I've got a little money in it, then we're going to win together. And we might cry together because there are going to be ups and downs. So you're in business and you have a budget and then you have a strategic plan. What about the real strategic plan? What do you stand for? What have you told your children? Is it about faith? Is it about works? We need to have those conversations. And you need to decide kind of where you stand. And the sooner you figure out it ain't about you, and the sooner you figure out, in my opinion, right, I'm not trying to preach to you faith, then you'll put that, whatever that is, that crisis du jour. Because when you're starting a business, there is a crisis du jour every day, right? All those people that you guys talk to, like, you can get through this. Not by yourself, but together. And I just think that's been incredibly important.